Hey besties, it's Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing to you another episode of TBR Takeover. If you've never seen this series before, basically what I do is I reach out to my fellow booktubers and I ask them to send me a clip of them recommending 3 books that they want me to read. They're allowed to choose whatever book they want. It could be an encyclopedia, it could be a horror book, it could be romance. It's whatever their heart desires. And so I'm so excited about this week's guest because it is the lovely jordaline reads. Jordaline is quite honestly one of my favorite booktubers. I love watching her. I love her sense of humor. I love her beauty. I love her confidence and I love her grace. She is an icon and I'm so excited to be reading books that she recommends. I will say we do not have a track record of having similar book tastes, but I'm still living for reading whatever she wants me to read. But I do want that to serve as a warning that I might not love your favorite books, and I'm so sorry for that. I'm a picky bitch, but that's fine. Jordaline sent me her clip of her telling me what books to read ages ago, and I haven't watched it yet, so we are going to react to it live together and see what she wants me to read.
Hi, Sarah, without an H. Oh my god, I'm so happy that you've asked me to do this because I'm literally, and I'm not even joking, literally obsessed with you. So the fact that you were like, recommend me books, it's literally a pleasure. It's literally an honor, so God bless. Listen, I don't want to come on your channel and start like, you know, waxing poetic about myself, but the fact that I look this good is literally a miracle. Like, oh my god, I just can't get over it. Like, ooh, you asked me to recommend you books. First of all, let's start with the one that I don't think you're going to be happy about. I don't want to be rude. Like, I don't want to be rude. I don't want to ruin your day. But at the same time, like, I know what I love and I want you to love it too. I want you to read Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. Listen, is it a big chunky boy? Yes. But we love a man who's just a little squish, and that's what Shadow of the Gods is. Except it's less squish, more high fantasy, Nordic mythology kind of thing. In this world, children are being like kidnapped and it's like super rude and everyone's like freaked out about it, including this girl named Orca. Her son gets kidnapped. Her husband gets like murdered. It's like such a bummer for her. Like, she literally loses both members of her family like one fell swoop. They're gone. Orca then goes on like a little expedition to find her son. Is it big? Yes. Okay. Is it good? Is it amazing? Yes, Sarah, it's amazing. You're gonna love it. And if you don't love it, I didn't recommend it to you. What do you mean you have video evidence? No, you don't, Sarah. You can't prove it. The next book I want to recommend you is one that I'm really excited to see your opinion and see your take on. I love this book so much. And that is A Simple Plan by Scott Smith. The premise is so simple. So it's about these 3 dudes, right? 2 of them are brothers, and then like one of them is like one of the brothers' friend. They're like out like in the snow, just hiking or walking or whatever, and they come across this airplane in the middle of a field covered by snow. They check it out, they go in the airplane, they find this like dead dude, and they're like, oh my god, this is literally crazy. But they also find a duffel bag full of money, like millions upon millions of dollars. They're like, you know what, let's come up with like a little plan so that we 3 can keep this money and split it. And so that's what they do. They come up with like a little simple plan. I hope you love it. I really do. The last book that I want to recommend you for your video, which by the way, thanks again so much, really appreciate it. I want to recommend you Off Season by Jack Ketchum. This is what the French would call les gros. This is about people who are like at this cabin. It's like a little friends getaway. They're all just like key. And then in the middle of the night, these cannibals show up at the cabin, break in, take one of the people, and then kill her and eat her. And the rest of the people in the cabin are like, we have got to find a way to not let that happen to us. Like, and so the whole book is basically like a fight for your fucking life kind of moment with cannibals. I hope you enjoy these books. Okay, bye. Love you.
I'm a little scared to read the last book, but also intrigued. Like, cannibals, like, sounds like a good time. And then the second one, I don't know, sounds interesting as well. But I'm so excited that Jordaline recommended me these books, and so the next time that we check in, I will be reading some of these fabulous reads that she's chosen for me. Okay, besties and Jordaline, I am almost done with A Simple Plan by Scott Smith. I am on chapter 8 of 12, and I don't know how to say this. It's always hard when I'm doing a TBR takeover, and the first book I read is one that I don't particularly like. I do want to emphasize before I say all of my opinions that I am deeply obsessed with Jordaline. Like, truly love her, want to be her. Everything that Jordaline does, I'm obsessed with. This book, this book was written, I believe, in like the 90s, so it's pretty old, and so it's got that kind of old feeling to it. And I don't want to say that I'm weirdly ageist towards old books, because I read classics sometimes, but there's something about this book that feels so heavily rooted in another time that's just not really working for me. I know Jordaline already gave us a nice little summary of this book, but I'm just going to recap a little bit so I can talk about my feelings. The main character of this book, I believe his name is Hank, and he has this brother that I can't remember his name, and basically every year they go to their father and mother's grave to visit. They're not really close, but this is the one ritual they have, because I think it was like one of their dad's like dying wishes for them to go do this. And so one of these years, on the way to doing that, his brother brings along his friend Lou, and then the brother's dog gets loose, and so they go chasing after the dog. And so then when they're in the woods, they come upon this abandoned plane, and so inside the plane they find a shit ton of money, and so they decide that they want to keep it. But then there's a lot of tension between the three of them on how they should keep this money and like when they should spend it, because obviously someone is going to be looking for this money, so they want to be like smart about it. But Lou and the brother are just kind of dumb, so they don't really want to follow Hank's intelligent plan of like what to do with this money. And so I thought this book was going to be a thriller about like these people are looking for this money and now all this bad stuff's going to happen and blah blah blah, and that's not really what this book turned out to be. It's more about the tension and the relationship between the three guys. And so there's not a lot of women in this book. The only woman that's like a main character is Hank's wife. Also, I don't even know if his name is Hank. It sounds right to me, but they just had random white man names, and so I can't fully remember. But his wife Sara, I do remember her name because we obviously have the same name. She's an interesting one because Hank is just doing morally bankrupt things this whole time because of this money, and she just keeps supporting him, which I'm like, you know, I guess you gotta support your boo, but interesting. I definitely don't want to tell you what happens in case you're interested in picking this up, because I don't know if it's a bad book or if it's just not my kind of book. What's interesting is that I don't feel like this book seems like something Jordaline would be into either. Like, I thought there was gonna be more horror, more thriller, more just like spooky vibes, because Jordaline is a spooky bitch, and it's just not giving that. And I really don't love Hank's perspective. He kind of depresses me a little bit. I don't know. He's just giving me kind of like the ick. I don't love the way that he talks about his brother. His brother is a heavyset character, and so he just talks about how fat he thinks his brother is constantly, to the point where it doesn't really feel like it's important to the story. Like, it's almost like we want his brother to seem so pathetic that they keep harping on what he looks like and kind of insulting his body type, which is interesting vibes. Again, this book was written like in the 90s, so body positivity was not quite on the rise the way that it is now. But I don't love that aspect. It's doing that thing where it's conflating his appearance with how successful he is, because he doesn't really have his life together. He's kind of a loser, to be quite honest. He lives alone. He's lonely. He's never had a girlfriend before. They are in their 30s, and he's just giving I'm gonna die alone vibes. And so Hank feels really bad for him, which that part is fine. But when he's thinking about these aspects of his brother's life, he emphasizes his brother's body a lot. Like, there'll be a scene where they're like talking at his brother's apartment, and his brother will like raise his arm and his t-shirt will show like a strip of his stomach, and he'll just talk about how like doughy he thinks his brother looks. And I'm just like, what's going on here, Scott? Like, why are we doing this? I know that in the 90s were a different time. I know that it was hard out there. Weight Watchers was at an all-time high. Like, I get it, but I don't at the same time. Like, why? So that keeps kind of taking me out of it. And then I've gotten to the part where there's like a lot of action going on. Obviously I can't tell you what happened and I just don't care. Jordaline, if you're listening to this, I just need to tell you, I worship you. You are my goddess. Like, my only religion is you. I watch every video that you put out and I'm obsessed with you. And I'm so sorry that I don't like this book that you've asked me to read. Like, honestly, I love you so much that I wish I could like live at your house and like live in your closet in your bedroom, so that every day when you woke up and got an outfit, I would just be there on my knees worshiping you, saying how great you are. Unfortunately, this book is not good. This book is not how I feel about you. So I guess I will give you guys another update after I finish it. It's interesting. Not loving it. Hey besties, hey Jordaline. I did finish A Simple Plan and it's a nar from me. I severely considered DNFing this, but I kept persevering for the sake of this video. I will say I looked this book up and I discovered that Sam Raimi actually directed a film adaptation of this. Sam Raimi is famous for directing the Evil Dead movies as well as some of the Spider-Man movies. So if you like Sam Raimi, maybe you could watch the film version of this. I will say reading the synopsis on Wikipedia made me think that the changes that Sam Raimi made were honestly better than how the book went. I noticed that some of the events happen in a different order than they do in the book, and I feel like it seems like that could make it better. I will not personally be watching the film because I didn't like this story, but honestly, my recommendation to you would be don't watch the film, don't read the book, just literally read the Wikipedia page about the film and you'll be good. I'm so sorry for being sassy about this, Jordaline. I just really didn't like this book. I think I'm gonna be giving it like 2 stars. Hopefully I like the next book more. Besties, I am 70% of the way through Shadow of the Gods and I have to tell you, I don't think I like this book. It's definitely not as bad as the last one, but I think the highest rating I could possibly give it is 3 stars. And I feel so bad. So I am literally recording this clip right now so that I can prostrate myself before Jordaline and say, I'm sorry. Also, I realize I'm showing off my feet for free. I'm sorry, Jordaline. Oh, this bit was funnier in my head. This is honestly just one of the worst things that could ever happen during a TBR takeover. I hate the fact that I've disliked 2 books in a row. Jordaline, I'm honestly begging you for forgiveness. For the first quarter of this book, I could not for the life of me tell you what was going on. Like, if you had held a gun to my head and said, Sarah, tell me the plot of Shadow of the Gods, I literally would have passed away. I would have died. You would have killed me. The names of these characters, I really feel like we just took a bunch of Nordic inspired names and put them in a blender because it's so hard for me to keep track of who is who. I feel like I now have a grasp on the plot and I'm definitely liking the book more now. But again, the first 100 or so pages, I was like, what is going on? I actually had to restart the audiobook no less than 4 times. And you might say to yourself, Sarah, maybe you're having a problem because you're listening to the audiobook, but that's not true because I listen to every single fucking book on audio. I am an audiobook bitch. I barely ever physically read. That is my main vehicle for reading, and I have read plenty of high fantasy books that way, but there was something about this one that was just not clicking because the family that we're introduced first is a woman and a husband and their son, and the woman's name is Orca and then the son's name is Burka, and I could not even tell you what the husband's name was, but I kept confusing Orca and Burka and who was who, and they were like hunting or something, and I was like, what is going on? I restarted it literally 4 times. The other 2 perspectives we were introduced to is a guy named Vogue. I always think of him as Vag, and I have to recorrect myself that it's Vogue, but basically he used to be a servant or an indentured servant of some sort, and he ran away. Like, he killed his master and he ran away, and so now he is getting inducted into these mercenaries called the Bloodsworn. And then the other main character's name is like Elva, something like that. She is an up-and-coming soldier. Her dad is like this big guy in some sort of military faction, and so she's trying to make a name for herself. Going back to Orca and Burka, Burka gets stolen away in the night, and so Orca's whole plotline is she's trying to find him. And so where I'm at in the book right now, she is kicking ass and taking names and just killing everyone she comes across in search of her son. I honestly could not tell you more about the plot, unfortunately. I just know that each of these characters is like trying to do something and their paths have not crossed yet. I would definitely say that Orca is my favorite character. I like her plotline the best because she just basically like beats people up, especially men, and I love when women beat up men, and so she's kind of a MILF, to be quite honest, like MILF energy. Elvira or Elva, whatever the fuck her name is, I don't love her. Don't like her perspective. I think she's kind of boring. And then Vogue is fine. I liked his perspective more before he was getting really involved with the Bloodsworn, but now that he's involved with the Bloodsworn, it's kind of like, eh. Also, the Bloodsworn and then the military faction that Elva, or whatever her name is a part of, are really similar, and I keep not really being able to tell the difference. Like the politics in this world, like don't ask me, I can't tell you. What's crazy is that I don't think this writing style is that complicated, and normally I can catch on to fantasy books by this point, but maybe I'm just an idiot. Like maybe my IQ is 0 because I am not keeping up with this one. I thought the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin was confusing, but I eventually got that book and it made me feel like a genius. This one, there's something about the writing style, I'm just not grasping it. The one thing I will say that John Gwynne is good at is creating an environment. This book is giving me a lot of like God of War vibes. Like if you've ever played the game God of War, I feel like that Nordic inspired, like cold atmosphere, I feel like that is what this book is giving. He spends a lot of time describing weapons and people's outfits, so I feel like it really paints a scene for me. And I can almost see myself enjoying a Game of Thrones-esque television show based off this series more than I'm enjoying reading it, because I am bored to tears. Honestly, I have wanted to DNF at every turn, at every chapter. I've wanted to not finish this book. It's been honestly a real slog for me. I think I've been reading this book since last Wednesday or Thursday, and today is Tuesday. It's almost been an entire week, and normally it does not take me that long to read a book, even if it's high fantasy. This is not a reflection on Jordaline because I feel like I can see the benefits of this book. It's just not my type of book. I will check in with you guys. Maybe I'll like the ending. Maybe if all the main characters cross paths towards the end, maybe it'll really come together for me. But ultimately, I'm struggling and I don't love it, and I'm so sorry. Jordaline. I just want to hide my face in shame for disliking my queen's favorite books. Even Billy's mad at me. I don't know if you just heard her barking. So I finished Shadow of the Gods, and it was a very interesting reading experience because I definitely can acknowledge that it's not a bad book. I just don't think it's the right book for me. If this hadn't been for a TBR takeover, I probably would have just DNF'd so that I wouldn't have to rate it, because I feel bad for the 2-star rating I'm probably going to be giving it. Jordaline, I am on my knees begging you to please forgive me for not liking these books. You truly are my queen and I worship you, and I'm so sorry that I don't like them. Hello besties, thank you for joining me today at my candlelight vigil. Today is a day that we gather in remembrance of a friendship that Jordaline and I once shared. It is definitely probably coming to an end today because of my many book opinions that unfortunately go against all of her favorite books. To pay your respects to this friendship that is now lost, please feel free to light your own candle. I personally am burning this free candle that Book of the Month sent me once for Christmas. It says that it smells like freshly printed pages and unlimited possibilities, which is quite poetic if you ask me. As our candles burned to their last dying breaths, quite like this friendship, let's take a moment to look back on all of the memories that Jordaline and I have once shared. There was that one time that we drank ourselves around the world at Epcot, and no one could forget that time that we hiked to the peak of Mount Everest together. It was both a harrowing and rewarding experience for both of us. That time we met Obama at a Tim Hortons, and most importantly of all, the time that we got wasted and went mechanical bull riding. Jordaline, if you're watching, you will not easily be forgotten, and I hope you find it in your heart one day to forgive me. All jokes aside, I am almost done with Off Season by Jack Ketchum, and I don't like this book either, guys. I don't know what to do. I'm literally gonna wear black for the rest of this video because I'm in mourning. I wanted to love these books so bad. I don't know what's wrong with me. They're just not my kind of books. This book is about a group of people that go to stay in a remote cabin in, I believe, Maine, and there are cannibals out there hunting them down. It's very campy. It is a 1980s horror book. I know that Jack Ketchum wrote it around the 80s, and I believe I'm reading the unedited version because apparently when he first released this book, he had to censor it a lot, and I believe the copy I got from Audible is the one that is the uncut version, so I'm definitely getting it in its full glory. And I think what is really making me struggle with it is the pacing. I am a pacing girly through and through. If you watch any of my book reviews, I'm constantly talking about pacing. I don't quite know what the perfect formula is, but I just know that this book is not it. Something I've noticed about myself when it comes to thrillers or horror is I do not like having a perspective of the killer or the person that we're supposed to be afraid of. I feel like it takes a lot of the suspense out of the novel for me. And so we are spending a lot of time following the cannibals as well as the victims of the people that are being chased down. And so I don't know, it's just like taking a lot out of it for me because I feel like I kind of already know what's going on with these cannibals, like where they came from, blah, blah, blah. There's also a perspective of a sheriff that's like looking to find these cannibals because he knows that people have been like going missing. And so these 3 different avenues that we're following the story just aren't really working for me pacing wise. I've also noticed that the women in this book are quite over sexualized, which isn't a huge issue because this book was written in the 1980s and that is a hallmark of this sort of campy horror, especially from this time period. So I'm not trying to sit here and like hold it to today's standards, but it's just not my preferred type of horror. To be quite honest, I've been really struggling to even figure out what kind of horror is my perfect sort of horror. Before last year, horror was actually my least read genre, and then since then I've probably read probably like 20 horror books, and I haven't liked most of them. A lot of them I end up rating like 1 or 2 stars. And so maybe it's a me problem. Maybe I'm just not made for the horror genre. The only horror book that I've really liked is Our Wives Under the Sea, which is more horror adjacent. A lot of actual horror lovers haven't loved that book because it's not really straight horror. I feel like I'm saying the word horror over and over and over again. I am so sorry, jordaline. I hope all the bits I've been putting in this video have made up for the fact that I don't like these 3 books that you recommended to me. This is honestly the worst case scenario for a TBR takeover. I'm wondering if maybe it's karma, because Katie Colson and I did a video recently where we filmed an intro for another episode of TBR Takeover, and then I also filmed one for her channel. So she did a version of this because we were together and we thought, why not make a video for hers? And she did not like any of the 4 books that I gave her. So perhaps this is karma for cursing Katie with reading those books. Or maybe it's just proof that everyone's opinions are valid and we just all have different tastes. I don't know. Because I know that I've had books in common with both Katie and jordaline, but these things just haven't been going well. Besties, I was not joking when I said I would be wearing black for the remainder of this video because I'm in mourning for how poorly this video went. I finished Off Season by Jack Ketchum, and unfortunately, I will be giving it 1 or 2 stars. It just really wasn't for me, besties. I'm so sorry. There was something about the pacing and the way the story was told that just, it didn't work for me. The writing style, there was something about it. I don't know. Maybe it was what I was talking about earlier with A Simple Plan, where maybe I just don't like books published before the late 90s. I don't know. Maybe that makes me ageist. Who knows? I don't really want to go on and on about more things I didn't like about this book. I feel like I already covered it in the other clip where I was talking about it. So we're just gonna leave it there. I'm so sorry to Jack Ketchum. I'm so sorry to jordaline. The book, it just wasn't for me. But that brings me to the end of this TBR takeover. It wasn't the most successful video I've ever done, but I'm very grateful to jordaline for participating. She is one of my all-time favorite booktubers. So I'm just so happy that we were able to do a collaboration of sorts. I'm also thinking maybe if jordaline is open to being heard again, we could do a redemption video for this in the future, like maybe a few TBR takeovers from now. If you are not currently subscribed to jordaline, I am begging you to go check out her channel. She is so funny. She genuinely makes me laugh out loud when I watch her videos. I know a lot of you say that you're subscribed to me because you think that I'm funny. So if you think that I make good jokey jokes, you need to go check out jordaline because she is just so funny. She is the queen of comedy. I love her. She does a lot of bits in her videos. She just has a sassy personality. Like, if you like the way that I roast books, you'll definitely love her content as well. And if you're over here on my channel watching this because jordaline sent you, I'm super grateful to you guys for being here, because the first time that you're seeing a video of mine, I am not liking the things that our queen has chosen. Just remember, kids, I am super picky when it comes to the books that I like. I have a very specific point of view about what I like and don't like in a book, and I'm a big stickler for pacing. And so sometimes books just don't work for me the way they do for other people, and for that, I am so sorry. If you made it to the end of this video, feel free to use the tombstone emoji in your comments down below, because honestly, death to me for not liking these books. And again, if you are not currently a subscriber of Jordaline's, I'm begging you to go check her out. The way that she talks about books is just chef's kiss. So you definitely need to head over there and give her lots of love, especially because I have mortally wounded her with all of my opinions in this video. But I thank you all so much for watching. You're all beautiful. Have a nice day.